Well, good morning. It is good to see you this morning on day number 32 of our Lent video series, and really excited to be with you. As you can tell, I am not at the office, but I'm actually doing this video out of our future living room here at the home that we purchased in Boyden. I thought I had a few extra minutes to record this video, so I thought I'll stop and do it now before I get busy with other things. But if you hopefully remember, tonight is a Thursday night, and this evening at 7 p.m. We are having our worship music night down at the Grain House, and it's just gonna be an exciting night to celebrate the true meaning of Easter with song and really with fellowship and with community. And I'm really excited to be there, and I'm really excited that my friend Nathaniel Chapman is going to be in town to help lead us through this time of worship. And so hopefully you can come down and join us. Bring your family. It's a family-friendly night, and there'll be coffee, there'll be some food to eat. So if you want to grab dinner down there, just get down there early, because sometimes the tables fill up pretty quick. But it'd be really great to be together, and I'm really excited for my friend to not only share some of his original music, but also just to lead us in worship. And so it's gonna be a wonderful time. But this morning, I just wanted to stop and record this video because we are looking at a rather profound name that is given to Jesus. And as you can tell by the opening slide, it is how Jesus is known as our sacrifice. Jesus is known as our sacrifice, and it really comes from the Apostle Paul when he says in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 2, "And walk in love as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God." And so there Paul is referring to Jesus as a sacrifice, as our sacrifice. You know, he connects it to also how he's a fragrant offering as well. And maybe I should just kind of give you a reference point to where that is coming from. You know, in the Old Testament, there was a sacrificial language that when, you know, they would burn incense at the temple, or when they would give offerings and sacrifices at the temple, it would be this pleasing aroma to the Lord. It almost reminds me of this candle that we have, and you know, it gives out a pleasing aroma. You know, you just light it, and you know, kind of fills the house with this. Well, this is kind of a forest moss, sandalwood and forest moss smell, and don't know what that smells like necessarily, but we'll have to try the candle out sometimes. But it is the same kind of imagery that Paul is referring to when he says that Christ is this fragrant offering and sacrifice to God. He's looking back to the Old Testament sacrifices that where, you know, they would burn incense, and the Lord would say, "This is a pleasing aroma." And it really is a pleasing aroma to God, because what? Jesus willingly went to the cross to die for our sins, to become this sacrifice for each one of us. And we really have to actually see that it is a willingness on the part of Jesus, because, you know, if it wasn't a willingness, then it really wasn't a sacrifice necessarily. In the fact that John chapter 10, this is what Jesus said to his disciples: "No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord." And so it truly is Jesus willingly sacrificing himself for each one of us. And I think that's such a beautiful thing to remember. It's a beautiful picture to remember on what Jesus actually did for us. I mean, sometimes, you know, we don't really necessarily reflect upon it enough, that it wasn't that we were given cheap grace by God. We were given grace that cost the life of his son. A son that he sent into our world, into creation, to live the life that we lived, to take on the death that we experience, but he took all that on in order to provide the life that he has. And he did it as a sacrifice. He did it as an act of being a sacrifice. And so Paul, he really wanted us to understand that, which is why, he says that in Ephesians chapter 4, that he sacrificed himself on our behalf. It was pleasing and it was acceptable by God, and he did it because he loved us. He did it because he loved us. Peter in 1 Peter chapter 1, in verse 18 and then also verse 19. I didn't really show all of verse 18 and 19 this time, but he begins verse 18 with the words that you were redeemed, and then he goes on and talks about other things, and then he works his way back to in verse 9, the final statement here, with the precious blood of Christ, a lamb without blemish or defect. And we've already talked about how Jesus, I believe, was a sacrificial lamb. And there's Peter bringing that up again in this verse. But look how he says, the precious blood of Christ. The precious blood of Christ. Like Christ was this precious sacrifice because of the blood that he shed for each one of us. And I think that is so important for us to remember when it comes to Easter. Here in just a week from now is Maundy Thursday, and that's when we usually gather as a church to have a meal, just like the disciples had a meal, and then we do a small service. And I love how we set it up at American Reformed. We try to set up tables almost as though you are, at the Last Supper with the disciples, and so we make it in the form of a U, and we don't recline because it would probably lead to some people either falling asleep or maybe having a tough time getting back up. But we do sit at chairs, but we try to just kind of picture what it would have been like to be with the disciples that night, not really knowing what was about to happen, but how Jesus was having supper with his disciples one final time before he was going to make the ultimate sacrifice, which is to lay down his life for his disciples and lay down his life for all of us and for all of mankind, for anyone who wants to place their faith in Jesus. He, after the Last Supper, goes to the garden and is arrested, and then the chain of events happen, which will eventually lead him to the cross the next day. And so we're just, a week out from celebrating that. But the great news is we're also just a little more than a week out from the tomb being empty, where we celebrate Easter morning. And I hope like this next week, you really start to, pray about these important, they're just days on a calendar, but these important moments where the church gathers to really reflect upon these things. And that God would really refine our hearts, refine our minds to really remember the true meaning of Easter. That it was Jesus being a sacrifice for us. He didn't have to do it. He willingly did it. And he did it out of his love for us. And so I hope that this is a very impactful time for each one of us as we really stop to not only celebrate moments like Maundy Thursday, but that we celebrate Easter morning, the risen Christ, and the tomb being empty. I mean, how exciting that morning is, and what it really actually means. And so, thank you for tuning in. We have day number 33 tomorrow. We're only 1 week away from our last video in this series, and then I'll probably give you an update upon what we're going to do next. Because I have a few ideas in mind. It won't be a video every day. This has been a test of endurance at times, but I think there's other ways that we can use this platform and our YouTube channel and really basically engage with each one of us, as we grow in our relationship with the Lord and really see his purpose that he set into motion even before the foundation of the world, that he established us as one of his chosen children. And so anyway, I'm excited to continue this, and so I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless. Have a good rest of the day, and have a wonderful time of celebration. Hope to see you tonight, 7 p.m. over at the Grain House. So God bless. Until then, God bless.